One who does not depend on anyone else. This does not mean they dislike people. It means they have chosen to be complete on their own. That kind of person cannot be easily shaken. They know their identity and remain steady when the lights fade, the applause ends, and no one is reaching out. That is when the real test begins. To succeed in life, you must be strong enough to stand on your own. Few people speak about this. Being truly alone is where strength is built. Growth does not come from being surrounded only by voices that agree with you. It comes when you face your doubts, your fears and your silence, and emerge stronger. Growth appears when you no longer cling to the past, when you stop asking others to stay, and when you realize you do not need anyone else to feel complete. Emotional independence is not empty advice. It is supported by evidence. When you learn to calm your nervous system, manage stress, and face pain without avoidance, you develop resilience. You become someone who does not collapse when the world disappoints them, and it will again and again. People may let you down, but you must not abandon yourself. Build a life you can enjoy independently. Learn to prepare your own meals, strengthen your thoughts, sit alone in a restaurant without discomfort, make decisions without constant approval. Stop handing your confidence to the opinions of others. Real confidence is earned through action, by doing what is difficult and rising after each setback. The process is not glamorous or simple. It requires choosing discomfort repeatedly. The more you embrace discomfort, the stronger you grow. Courage is formed by walking the path alone, by improving your skills, your routines, and your mindset. Inner peace develops when you say no, even when fear tempts you to say yes. Freedom expands when you let go of those who want access but do not value honesty, growth, or genuine connection. Boundaries are essential. Boundaries are not barriers. Boundaries communicate, I respect you, but I respect myself as well. They protect your energy and guide others in how to treat you. But remember this, no one will respect your limits if you do not. Stop over-explaining, stop apologizing, and begin standing firm. That is when you start enjoying your own company. That is when you reclaim your time, your power, and your choices. You no longer settle for shallow connections, harmful relationships, or needless distraction. You draw peace because others recognize steadiness, because you are whole with or without them. That kind of presence cannot be stopped. So today, stop waiting for rescue. Stop expecting others to define your worth. You were made to endure, to grow, and to remain steady, even when standing alone. One of the most overlooked strengths in this world is learning to be by yourself without feeling lonely. That is not weakness. It is a skill, a mindset, and a discipline that few ever develop. Emotional independence, no longer depending on others, is what can truly transform your life. Relying on people for validation, rescue, or a sense of completeness often leads to disappointment. You need to reach a point where you are strong mentally, emotionally, and physically, not only to survive alone but to grow. The moment you realize you do not need anyone else to keep moving forward is the moment you become steady and resilient. Many avoid being alone because it forces them to face themselves, to sit quietly with the parts they try to avoid. Yet the truth is this. Those quiet, uncomfortable moments are where growth begins. They are where you start to rewrite your story. When you allow yourself to feel pain instead of escaping it, when you face heartbreak without hiding behind distractions, when you meet silence without fear, you begin to build strength within. That strength is not loud or forceful. It is calm, balanced, and steady. It appears in the way you speak to yourself, how you care for yourself, and how you stop pleading with others to remain. It shows when you choose peace instead of conflict, boundaries instead of pleasing, and self-respect instead of constant approval. You no longer need reminders of your worth, because you see it in your consistent actions, even when no one is watching. Learning to be alone does not mean cutting people off. It means being able to stand firmly on your own. It means knowing your happiness is not dictated by someone else's choices, that your confidence does not collapse when a message goes unanswered, and that your plans do not fail when others disappoint you. Because they will. People leave, people change, and life shifts. If your sense of self is tied to others, you will fall whenever they do. So how do you build this kind of strength? You stop waiting. Stop waiting for perfect timing, for someone to rescue you, for life to feel easy. You begin the work. You commit to being your own anchor, your own home, your own support. You learn the skills you have delayed. You grow comfortable eating alone, working toward goals alone, even seeking help or guidance alone. You stop filling your time with noise just to avoid your own presence. Instead, you start asking real questions. Who am I without the people around me? What do I genuinely want? What am I avoiding admitting? The answers rarely come all at once, but clarity forms when you face the difficult things, when you choose discipline over comfort, self-respect over shallow connections, and strength over avoidance. When you accept that solitude is not punishment, but preparation for the future version of yourself, who does not settle, who does not chase, who does not fear being alone because solitude has become strength. There is something powerful about someone who does not panic when plans shift, who does not collapse when rejected, who can walk away from chaos without regret. That kind of person cannot be controlled. They do not chase love, they attract it. They do not follow trends, they guide themselves. They do not fear loss, because they have already found themselves. So do not run from being alone, lean into it, use it, let it shape you. Because if you can enjoy your own company, grow without constant approval, and choose peace over opinions, you become free, not only from others but from fear, insecurity, and neediness. That freedom is the goal. That is what real strength looks like. It begins with the decision to stop running and to stand firm, even if you stand alone. At some point you must stop waiting for others to grant permission to live fully. Stop expecting recognition of your worth or validation of your feelings. The truth is, no one is coming. Once you accept that, you reclaim your power, because the person you have been waiting for is already here. It is you. And it is time to be strong enough to stand on your own, not because you want to be alone forever, but because you no longer fear. That kind of strength is not dependent on anyone else showing up. Most people tie their happiness to someone else's presence, but that is not happiness, it is dependency. And dependency keeps you stuck, small, and afraid. Real growth begins when you ask yourself, how much of your life is shaped by the fear of being alone? How many choices are made just to be liked, accepted, or chosen? How many times have you said yes when you meant no, just to keep someone close? That is not love, it is survival. And you were meant for more than survival. You were meant to thrive. When you are always surrounded by people, you lose the chance to hear your own voice. You lose the space to discover what you believe, what you want, and what you stand for. Being alone is not weakness, it is training. It is the foundation for breaking cycles of dependence and building real independence. It is in solitude that you develop emotional strength, where you learn to calm yourself, support yourself, and remain steady when life unravels. It is where you build inner resources no one can take away: resilience, clarity, stability, and confidence. Strength is not formed in the spotlight, it is built in the quiet moments, the ones no one else sees. It is built in the moments when giving up feels easier, but you refuse. In the moments when silence feels heavy, and you are tempted to reach out to someone who once hurt you, but instead you sit with it. You let it teach you. You let it shape you. You let it make you stronger. That is strength. That is real power. The longer you fear solitude, the more you risk compromising. You may settle for relationships that drain you, jobs that diminish you, or friendships that use you, just to avoid being alone. But once you begin valuing peace over proximity, everything changes. You choose better. You attract better, because you know you are whole on your own, and anything that enters your life is an addition, not a replacement for emptiness. Learning to be alone may be one of the most valuable lessons you ever give yourself. It teaches you to stop searching outward for answers and start looking inward. You stop blaming others for your unhappiness and begin taking responsibility for your healing. You stop waiting for closure from others and instead give it to yourself. You stop chasing love and begin embodying it. That shift changes everything. When you learn to meet your own needs, you no longer depend on unpredictable people for stability. You become someone who does not collapse when plans shift, who does not lose balance when disappointed, who does not shrink just to be accepted. You become steady, clear, and calm. That kind of presence stands out because it is rare. Most people stay busy trying to be noticed, chosen, or validated, forgetting to choose themselves, but not you. You are learning that being alone is not emptiness, it is presence of clarity, peace, strength, and growth. So stop waiting for someone else to choose you. Set boundaries to protect your peace. Stop living as if you are incomplete. You are whole and you always have been. Now is the time to remember that truth, to step fully into it, to stop avoiding solitude and start using it, because when you are strong enough to stand alone, you stop settling, you stop chasing, you stop needing, and that is when what you truly desire begins to arrive, not because you begged for it but because you became someone who finally believes they deserve it. There is a version of you that does not flinch when things fall apart. There is a version of you who does not plead to be understood, who does not collapse when left unseen, and who does not change shape just to stay accepted. That version is not far away. It is built moment by moment. Every time you stand firm for yourself, every time you choose to sit with discomfort instead of running to someone or something to numb it, every time you stop relying on others to carry your emotions, that version takes form. It is built in solitude, not isolation. Solitude is where strength begins. We are conditioned to believe that being alone means something is wrong, that if you are not surrounded by friends, in a relationship, or maintaining appearances, you are somehow behind. But the truth is this: there is nothing more powerful than someone who can sit with themselves and not feel empty. Someone who does not need noise, distraction, or validation to feel whole. That is not weakness, it is mastery. And few reach it because they never pause long enough to listen to themselves. The reality is that being alone is where true healing begins. It is where you stop distracting yourself from unresolved pain. It is where you stop performing for love and instead ask why you fear being with yourself. People often avoid solitude not because of boredom, but because of exposure. With no one else around, you see yourself clearly, the habits, the patterns, the wounds, and that awareness is the beginning of change. In solitude, growth takes root. You hear the stories you have been telling yourself, that you are not enough unless someone else says so, that you must earn love, that you must stay small to keep the peace. But when you hear those stories clearly, you gain the power to rewrite. You can challenge the lies and replace them with beliefs grounded in truth, rather than fear. Growth does not come from staying busy, it comes from being honest, and honesty is rarely comfortable. It may mean admitting you have been settling, shrinking, or surrounding yourself with noise just to avoid silence. But discomfort carries power because once you see it, you cannot ignore it. You realize you have been giving your energy, time, and care to those who did not value it, because at some level you were not valuing it yourself. That realization changes everything. When you build the strength to be alone, rejection no longer frightens you. Endings do not break. Shallow connections no longer appeal to you. You raise your standards not out of pride but out of clarity. You now know what peace feels like, so you will not accept chaos disguised as companionship. You know how to meet your own needs, so you no longer chase those who only half show up. You know your worth, so you no longer wait for others to confirm it. That kind of power does not make you cold, it makes you clear. It makes your love more intentional, your time more protected, and your boundaries stronger. And that is exactly what draws the right people close. When you are secure in yourself, you become magnetic, not because you are trying, but because confidence, peace, and wholeness naturally attract. Those qualities are built through inner work, often in solitude. So no, you are not behind because you are single. You are not broken because people have left. You are not failing because you are walking alone. Right now you are being prepared for a version of yourself that does not settle, does not chase, and does not give up self-respect just to be loved. That version is not built in comfort, it is built in solitude. If that is where you are now, do not run from it. Lean in. Trust it. Use it. Because one day you will look back and see that the season you once feared, the one where it was just you, your thoughts, and your growth, was the season that changed everything. It was the time that made you strong, steady, whole, and free. There is real power in realizing that you are not dependent on anyone else to move forward. Your peace, your progress, and your future do not rely on someone else showing up for you. They are in your hands. That is not a burden, it is a gift. Once you accept that you are responsible for your life, you stop waiting and start acting. You stop chasing people and begin pursuing purpose. You stop accepting tolerance and instead choose respect, not through words, but through consistent decision. That is what strength looks like, and it is built when you learn to stand alone. The most damaging choice you can make is tying your self-worth to how others treat you. People are inconsistent. People are human. When your identity depends on whether someone stays, chooses you, or approves of you, you hand over your power, and every time they shift, you collapse. That is not love, that is dependency. You must reclaim that power. You must be so steady in who you are that no opinion can shake your foundation. The only way to build that is by spending time with yourself, alone, not lonely. There is a difference. Alone is where you uncover what you truly believe, what you genuinely want, not what friends expect, not what society pressures you to pursue, not what family imagines for you. Just you, your voice, your truth. And that clarity does not come from constant company. It comes from space, from stillness, from the moments when there is no one to impress, no one to entertain, no one to lean on but yourself. The more you learn to trust yourself in those quiet moments, the more confident you become in every part of life. People who are at ease being alone are the most confident in any room, not because they are loud, not because they seek attention, but because they do not need anything from anyone. That kind of presence is rare. It is built through time, reflection, effort, and trial and error. It is built when you accept that, while support matters, survival is your responsibility. Emotional stability is your work. Mental steadiness is your responsibility. No one else can hand it to you. It begins with small choice, making decisions without constant approval, sitting in silence instead of filling the space with noise, creating routines that nourish rather than distract, being comfortable saying no without long explanations. That is real strength. It is not loud, it is steady. Strength lives in discipline, in consistent decisions, and in trusting your own instincts even when no one else agrees. You must reach a point where your peace is non-negotiable, where your energy is treated as something sacred, because when you know how to regulate your emotions, comfort yourself, and celebrate your progress even when no one notices, you stop chasing reassurance. You stop showing up just to be seen and instead start showing up because it aligns with who you are becoming. Do this consistently, and you become magnetic, not because you are seeking attention, but because you have mastered something few ever do, being content on your own. And here is the truth. When you enjoy your own company, you become a better partner, a better friend, and a better leader, because you are no longer operating from need. You are whole, and you carry that wholeness into your relationship. That is how healthy connections are built, by showing up full, not empty, by giving, not grasping, by knowing your life is already complete, and anyone who joins it is adding to what is already strong. So if you are in a season where it feels like it is only you, do not resist it. Embrace, let it shape you, let it refine you. Use this time to gain clarity, strength, and grounding. One day you will look back and realize solitude did not break you. It built you. It made you more self-aware, more resilient, and more in control. And that version of you, the one who does not cling but chooses wisely, will change your entire life. There is a freedom that comes only from learning to stand alone, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. That freedom transforms how you move through the world. You are no longer led by fear of abandonment, worried about losing people, or constantly reshaping yourself just to be accepted. You have done the work of creating a home within, and that is where real strength begins. Strength is not formed when life feels simple. It is built when it is just you, facing challenges one step at a time, proving you are capable of handling them. Many fear being alone because they connect it with lack of love, support, or validation. What they miss is that solitude is not lack. It is space to think clearly, to heal, and to discover who you truly are without outside influence. Once you stop running from that space, you begin to see its value. Everything you have been searching for, confidence, clarity, peace, exists within the silence you once avoided. When you stop depending on others to calm your storms, you begin learning how to regulate your emotions. You build tools for self-support. You realize you do not need to share every problem just to feel seen. You can sit with it, process it, and choose how to respond. You learn to pause, to breathe, and to reflect before acting. That kind of emotional strength is not created in comfort. It is formed in moments when you had no choice but to figure things out alone. This does not mean rejecting connection or pushing people away. It means you no longer cling, no longer chase, and no longer compromise your values just to feel love. You welcome relationships, but they no longer define your worth. You appreciate people, but your identity is not built on their presence. You share your time, energy, and care only with those who respect it. This is the difference between dependence and empowerment. You begin to see more clearly. You understand what peace feels like. Not constant excitement, not endless company, but waking up without the weight of needing to impress. Peace is knowing. Your day does not collapse if someone cancels plans. It is being comfortable with your own rhythm, your own presence, and that kind of contentment changes everything. When you are whole on your own, you stop accepting half-hearted relationships, empty conversations, and draining environments. You set boundaries without guilt. You say no without long explanation. You walk away when something no longer supports your growth. You do not engage in chaos just to feel included. You do not accept crumbs just to avoid an empty table. You understand your worth, and it is not measured by how many people message you, how many likes you receive, or who pays attention. It comes down to how you show up for yourself when no one else does. And when the right people enter your life, and they will, you will recognize them, not by how loudly they appear, but by how naturally they align with the world you have already built. You will not wait for someone to save you, because you have already saved yourself. You will not expect someone to complete you, because you already feel complete. You will not fear losing them because you know you will be fine either way. That kind of strength is what builds deep, steady, lasting connections, because it comes from choice, not fear. So if you are walking alone right now, keep moving forward. Do not confuse silence with emptiness. That quiet space is where your next level is formed. It is where you develop discipline, self-respect, patience, and vision. It is where you learn to value your own company so much that anything less than peace feels out of place. It is where you prepare for a life shaped not by dependency but by purpose. And when that life takes shape, and it will, you will look back and see that solitude did not weaken you. It shaped you. It made you strong. It made you whole. It made you fully yourself.